Hey everybody, Ben from the Bonehead Podcast, and we've got a very cool unbox and review for you today. We have had the Norba Kickstarter teams land. So Norba did a Kickstarter last October, and inside it, now it was a Kickstarter for Warhammer Fantasy Battle models basically, like Britannia and Empire from Warhammer Fantasy Battle, but snuck beautifully in there was a whole host of awesome Blood Bowl miniatures. 2 whole teams and a bunch of really fun star players featured there at Britannian and Empire, the Breton team and the Empire team, both of which can be used to run humans or Bretonians if you're using Legacy Blood Bowl, and some ogres to go with them as well. So we've got the teams, we've got the stars, we're going to have a look at the quality, we're going to have a look at what you need to do to prep them, and we're going to check out the size versus the Games Workshop ones. But we will be giving away 4 of these teams. We'll be giving away 2 Empire teams and 2 Breton teams, all 4 of those will be sent out by Eduardo at Norba Miniatures. Now, all you have to do is watch the video and comment below with your idea for team names. It can be a Bretonian team, an Empire team, whatever. Put a comment in there, and we want 1 team name per comment, please. Don't just bundle them all in, and we will pick them at random in about a week's time. So when this video goes live, please jump on, comment to win basically, put your team name ideas below. We'll do a random draw, and Eduardo will send out 2 Empire and 2 Bretonian teams to our 4 random winners. Anyway, let's have a look at the models you can win. So the first team we're going to have a look at is the Bretonian team. So this team comes with 4 knights, 4 retainers basically, which are these guys here with the rounded helmets, and a whole bunch of linemen. Now, obviously, human teams and things like that will need multiple positionals. Because of the linemen, every single one of them is independently sculpted, so they're all individual, so you're not going to have any duplicates. So you can just identify a couple as throwers, whoever you want them to be, maybe colour the bases, and you won't have a problem at all. But what we're here to do today is to look at the casting quality of these miniatures. So Norba had a really interesting idea and basically transferred to entirely printed products. That means you've got hardly any mold lines. Now what you will have is, if I can pull over my little thing here, my little work piece, you can see that some of them still have the supports in place. That is just an element of 3D printing, and is no different than flash or mold lines from traditionally casted models. They're very easy to flick off. You can flick them off or you can clip them off. I do recommend you clip them off more gently, because some of them can snap and take away pieces of the model with them. Again, exactly the same as resin, and if you've had any experience with 3D printed models before, it will not be news to you. So we've got a whole bunch of different models here when it comes to the Bretonians, and like I said, each of the linemen is individually sculpted, so you've got 16 beautifully and individually sculpted pieces. So I think the most important thing that we do is we have a look at the size of the sculpt. So I've got 1 Bretonian guy here, 1 knight who I've put on a Games Workshop base. Now it does come with 25mm bases, but I am a 32mm base purist, and I really do try to use Games Workshop ones wherever possible, especially when we do things like this and have a look at the size comparison. So let's get both these boys on the screen together at the same time. So we've got the knight and we've got an Imperial Nobility thrower. Okay, so as you can see, height-wise, bearing in mind that this knight is kind of stooping down, they are very similar. They are about exactly the same scale. If this guy was standing straight, he'd be about right equal to my thrower here. Now, when it comes to mass, and mass is actually really important in Blood Bowl, everybody needs to be strength 3. As you can see, he sizes up brilliantly compared to the Nobility model. So Games Workshop scale-wise, we can actually have a look at some more of these models. I've put them on the base. Height-wise, basically the same. Some of the linemen are a bit chunky than others, and you know what? So are humans, so that's not going to bother me. Some are a little bit shorter, but again, we've got a really good example here where the height is about the same as a Nobility thrower. We've got another knight here in a kicking pose. Let's see if we can pop him on the base just to kind of give that thing. So actually with the knight's helmet plume, okay, which apparently is all the rage these days, looking at you, Nobility team, they match up beautifully to Games Workshop. However, we're not just here to see the knights, we're here to see the ogres. So let's bring on the first of our ogre models here. Now this is the Imperial Nobility ogre, or the Empire ogre. Come on, let's zoom in properly. Thank you very much, camera. Now this guy is chunky, and I absolutely love him. Look at the quality of the sculpt and the quality of the detail there. So we can see there is a bit of flash around his face, but like I said, honestly, just with a little bit of a flick, with a little bit of a gentle gentle movement, you can take off that flash and it will leave very little marks there. You do have to be careful, but like I said, it's no different than prepping any other miniature, especially for the fact you don't have to build any of these. Well, that's not entirely true. So the Britannian ones do come with individual shields, and the Britannian Ogre does come with a couple of shields as well for you to add. But when you come and look at the models, they are ready to go basically. A heavy dry brush will probably break off all the flash that you've got. I like to go through and do mine carefully because they're going to be painted properly. But Ogre wise, mass wise, I don't actually have a Games Workshop Ogre with me because they're in storage. But if I put them up to a Black Orc, you can see that size wise, this guy is absolutely massive. But they do come with bases, so the Ogres come with a 40mm base, which is going to fit on the pitch, no problem at all. And when you line them up to, for example, gosh, there's so many models everywhere. We haven't even got halfway through it yet. You can line it up next to the Knight, and it looks absolutely perfect. Now, as we're doing the Ogres, let's open up and bust out the Britannian one, because it is very cool. Now, the Britannian team won't need an Ogre for the olden days, so if you're playing Legacy Blood Bowl, you won't need an Ogre for the Britannian team. But if you have a Britannian team and you need an Ogre, then this guy might be for you. Alright, we've got a very cool guy. He matches the Britannian theme. A Breton team, I guess, is how Norba have shaped it. You got the fleur-de-lis there, and he's got some individual shields to go on his shoulder pieces if you so desire. And again, size-wise, absolutely massive, but within Blood Bowl size. Okay, so this guy is not going to look outrageous. He will fit on a 32, to be fair. He'll fit on a 40mm, as you can see down there. If you want to go proper big guy size basing, which I always recommend. But this guy will come with a 40mm base. All the individual guys will come with 25s. If that bothers you, pick up a pack of Games Workshop bases and you are there. I don't know, it was like £3 or something. It's fine. Otherwise, you've got bases that come with the models. So size-wise, they line up very nicely to Games Workshop. Detail-wise, as you can see on the video feed here, even though I've got dog hair on that one. Good job, Ben. Good job, Doug, my dog. You can see that the detail is absolutely perfect. It's 3D printed, but it's 3D printed to a standard that I could not achieve. And the cleanup is really good as well. Because of the way it's been cleaned up, if you wanted to just prep and paint these very, very quickly, all I'd be inclined to do is just check them over, sitting watching a TV show, checking over for pieces of flash and things like that, and then give them a good old dust. And then once you're done, you prime them, and they're ready to go. And it seems only appropriate that we have a look at the Empire ones as well. So if you're familiar with Warhammer Fantasy Battle, the Bretonians are kind of like your classic 13th century knights. They are your knights. These guys here are the heavy armoured stuff, late kind of medieval time, early Renaissance. These are the ones that got shot at with guns, and that's where the Empire kind of thing comes from. It's got that Germanic theme to it. So you've got 4 knights with this team, you've got 4 of these retainers as well, and they look kind of like Pistoliers from the Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Basically, this is Empire Knights, Empire Pistoliers, and a bunch of just Empire soldiers. Now, if you are familiar with Warhammer Fantasy Battle, they've got that flowing kind of weird pantaloon-esque look to them, which basically mirrors that of the Imperial Nobility team. So the really cool thing about these Norba teams is the value. You get 16 individually sculpted miniatures. They're ready to go already, and they've all just got fun and interesting poses, so each one of them is going to be an absolute delight to paint. Size-wise, we checked the size. Let's just grab our thrower again, our Nobility thrower, and you can see that size-wise he is about bang on. Top of his helmet, a little bit higher. That's absolutely fine. We want our models to be nice and tall. The Knights are big enough to be strength 3 without being gigantic people. So this one here is a little bit hunched over and comes up just a little bit lower, potentially, than our Nobility thrower. But if he was standing up straight, probably be fine. So I don't need to show you all of these models, but you can see there's still a little bit of that flash on there, which is fine. It doesn't take much to take on. But the detail itself and the fun sculpting of these is one of the reasons I fell in love with these teams so quickly. The value was absolutely bang on. Okay, we've just done a top 5 about how many few teams you can buy one box and be ready to go. With this lot, you buy one team and you are ready to go with the full lineup of 16. And you've got very appropriate, so this is the Empire one, you've got very appropriate Ogre to go with it. And I think that's one of the strengths of this range, is when you are able to buy this Ogre, we're going to see this an awful lot to go with the actual Games Workshop Nobility team, if people don't just want to jump in and buy the Britannian team or the nobility team from Norba, you've got a lot of flexibility here, and that is fantastic for us as Blood Bowl fans. And the last thing I have to show you is the star players, or some of the star players that came with this as well. So the first one we've got to look at is the Vampire. Now, scale-wise and everything, he lines up with exactly the same as the rest of the range, but you can see he's got that classic Vampire armor with the weird kind of arches and jagged bits. It's a very cool model, and I'm going to be really tempted to not just pester Eduardo to make more vampires. Well, I don't think we have a really good vampire team kicking around right now, and this could be it. But honestly, it's the knights and stuff that do it for me here. This guy, I can't remember what he's called, I'm really sorry, but with the skull face there and the big wings, he's like an angel of death. This is such a cool model. Now, it is one of the worst elements of this Flash, but man, if you guys have built the Forge World stuff, you'll know that this is absolutely nothing. It is to be expected, and it will take a bit of cleanup, and you have to do it carefully to avoid ruining the model. Not even ruining the model, but just, you know, taking bits out of it that's not ideal. But a tiny bit of cleanup, you know, put a show on and you'll have the team done in no time at all, and you get these very cool Night Star players. So, I mean, one of these guys could be Griff, no problem. You could probably run one as Zug, no problem at all. And with the mercenary rules in Death Zone, there is no reason you can't make your own Green Knight. You can't make your own fantasy knight hero. This one I love. This is like the centerpiece of the campaign when it came to the Blood Bowl team. Just this big old knight having a kick at somebody. Scale-wise, like we said before, he's a little bit taller, I think, than the nobility lineman. He's going to size up exactly right with Games Workshop. Now, the nobility team itself varies from Games Workshop, so the Norba ones having some guys who are a little bit bigger and some guys are a little bit smaller fits really, really well. And there we have it. I love these miniatures. I've loved the style as soon as they went live. I'm so happy that Norba increased the scale to match the Games Workshop Blood Bowl ones. We got to actually help with that. They sent across some STL files, and we had a play to kind of be like, this is the size you want. So they will line up beautifully with the Games Workshop models. Now, they haven't hit retail yet, but when they do, the price value will be really good for you. Okay, we're looking at 16 individual models and probably a quite cheap ogre to go with it. And this is very exciting for us because, I mean, Britannian teams, they're out there. Third-party ones, very expensive. Obviously, you have to run them as nobility now unless you're playing Legacy Blood Bowl. But nobility teams, there's one. It's a great team, but now you've got a very, very well-costed alternative that's going to be landing soon as well. And that is not all. Norba will be moving into more Blood Bowl teams. And if they end up producing teams at 30 quid a box with 16 players with all the positionals, they are going to be an absolute force in Blood Bowl. And I am super excited about that because there's so much they can do. And they're doing it, I think, better or as good as Games Workshop, which is just fantastic for all of us, okay? That just means we can have like 3 or 4 of each team instead of the standard 1 or 2 that we've got now. Anyway, guys, like we said at the beginning of the video, comment below. And we'll pick a comment at random, so please put in there what you think about the models. Please suggest team names. Please suggest anything you want for these models. Each comment will count, and we're going to give away 4 Empire team, 4 teams in total, 2 of the Empire version, 2 of the Britannian version. We'll do the draw in about a week or so, and Norba will send them out for us as well. So I will get in contact. Well, we'll flag up who the winners are. You get in contact with us, and we'll put you in contact with Norba, which is wicked. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go base up these guys and paint my ogre, I think. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the show even further, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Or come and join us in our Patreon, link below, where you get early access to our content and monthly competitions. See you later.